Hello, members one and all of the Salivation Nation. Doing a little research and I found this infographic on Money Metals Exchange website. It must be a new bullion dealer. I'd not heard of them before. But nonetheless, I found this infographic quite fascinating here, talking about the biblical history of silver bullion. Throughout recorded history, silver bullion has been used as currency for industrial purposes. Silver was believed to be magical in folklore and fiction. The unique properties of silver and its value to people are also chronicled throughout the Bible. The biblical history of silver adds to the intrigue of this precious metal and remains a form of money and physical wealth in modern times. And talks about how it had set the gold standard. The gold standard and the silver standard are terms used throughout the history of currency. The silver standard linked the prices of silver and barley. And that's from Leviticus 27, verse 16. So if you look at here, it says here that if anyone dedicates to the Lord part of their family land, its value to be set according to the amount of seed required for it, 50 shekels of silver to a homer of barley seed. So very interesting indeed that's the how it was kind of measured out there. Then it goes on to say the use of money for trade goes back to Genesis, the first chapter of the Bible. Several currencies were used in the Bible, including gold, silver, and barley. Silver was popular for everyday use because it was scarce, but not as scarce as gold, and more durable than barley. So that kind of made silver very unique in that way. In early biblical times, money just meant pieces of silver that were checked for purity with a touchstone, and then weighed out when the transaction was made, from Jeremiah 32. Money belonged to the people, silver was used for trade and transactions, while gold became a way to hold and preserve wealth. So it sounds like silver was what we used commonplace from the people, from Jeremiah 32. Let's take a look at that. For a transaction here that I knew it was from the word of the Lord here in verse 9. So I bought a field of Anathoth from my cousin Hanamel and weighed out for him 17 shekels of silver. I signed and sealed the deed, had it witnessed, and weighed out the silver on the scales. I took the deed of purchase, the sealed copy containing the terms and conditions, as well as the unsealed copy, and gave this deed to Baruch, son of Neriah, the son of Messiah, in the presence of my cousin Hanamel and the witnesses of those who signed the deed and all the Jews sitting in the courtyard of the guard. So quite interesting indeed to see that they kind of verified the silver by weighing it. I'm not sure exactly how they checked for purity on a touchstone back then, but if anybody knows how that was done, feel free to post it in the comment section below. I'm kind of curious. I'll have to look that up, but the biblical history of silver preceded modern currency as we know it. Gold was referred to as good in the land of Havilah from Genesis 2:10-12 and became a foundation of the solid economic system. So if we look here at Genesis 2, verses 10-12, it says, Now a river went out to Eden to water the garden, and from there it parted and became 4 riverheads. The name of the first is Pishon. It is the one which skirts the whole land of Havilah, and where there is gold. And the gold of that land is good. Bdellium and the onyx stone are there. So very interesting. Talks about, the value and how treasured it was, even from back from the very first book of the Bible. Gold and silver coins were probably not introduced to the Israelites until the 5th or 4th century BC, and with them routine state control over money. The denarius that Jesus held in Matthew 22:19 was a perfect example of the dangers of this. It was first minted around 211 BC. It was made from almost pure silver and weighed around 4.5 grams. But over the years, both its size and purity were reduced. In Jesus' time, it contained around 3.9 grams of silver, And later in the 30s AD, the Emperor Nero further reduced the silver content. By the middle of the 3rd century AD, it was a copper coin with no more than a thin plating of silver. Other silver denarius was the standard rate of pay for a day's labor, from Matthew 20, verse 2. And let's take a look at that. Matthew 20, verse 2. And when he had agreed with the laborers for a penny a day, he sent them into his vineyard. And essentially that's from the King James Version, and that would be translated to a denarii a day, denarius. So the silver vessels, hey, silver vessel, a shout out for you. People commonly use silver vessels to hold wine and water. Today, scientists recognize silver has antibacterial properties that has kept food and liquids fresher. Not long ago, people recognized the benefits provided by silver for food and beverage storage. Ezra refers to silver vessels in the house of God that were taken from Jerusalem by Nebuchadnezzar and brought to Babylon. From Ezra 5, verse 14. They were supposed to be placed in the house of God in the Temple of Jerusalem. This reveals their historical use and value. Refined silver in the Bible. Silver was resistant to inflation. Jeremiah paid 17 shekels for a field that we read from Jeremiah 32, verse 9. And Zechariah 11 records the prophet throwing 30 silver pieces to the potter in the temple. Nearly 600 years later, Judas's 30 pieces of silver pieces brought the potter's field. Matthew 27, 9 and 10 as a rate of 2% inflation, the target rate for many governments today. The field Jeremiah purchased for 17 shekels would have cost around 2.5 million shekels by the time of the crucifixion. And then talk about the 30 pieces of silver to the crucifixion. After stealing from Jesus for over 3 years, Judas betrayed him to the Romans for 30 pieces of silver. This moment has been prophesied in Zechariah 11, 12, and through the 13. And we'll go ahead and read that right now. This is from the Old Testament, from the prophecy. I told them, if you think it is best, give me my pay, but if not, keep it. So they paid me 30 pieces of silver. And the Lord said to me, throw it to the potter, the handsome prince at which they valued me. So I took the 30 pieces of silver and threw them to the potter at the house of the Lord. In fact, that's exactly what Judas did. Judas was handed 30 pieces of silver for delivering Jesus to the Romans, who crucified him. This is one of the less shiny moments of the biblical history of silver. It should be noted afterwards that when he realized in his guilt about what he had done, he took that money to the Romans and threw it down. And then he went and hung himself. So very interesting indeed. There's the biblical history of silver and how really it's kind of set apart. And really that is the case today. When you look at a silver mercury dime, silver quarter, or an ounce of silver, whether it be your regular common bullion pieces like the Silver Eagle, the Britannia, the Canadian Maple Leaf, what have you, those are relatively affordable, and those really would probably be used today as regular for ordinary transactions, whereas gold is treasured as a store of wealth that is really hard to denominate unless it's in very, very small, intricate pieces, like, a tenth of an ounce of gold would be pretty easy to lose, and it would be a lot to lose if you were to make a transaction with it. So people tend to store it and treasure it, and we're seeing that today, whereas silver is to be used, or has been, and actually silver's been used for transactions even in modern day times, all the way up until the mid-1960s here in America, and some other countries a little bit longer, and some other countries a little bit less, but silver was used as money for everyday exchanges. So quite fascinating how foretelling the Bible was, and how long ago, and how intricate and how important it was that silver was used as money. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I'd like to extend a multitude of gratitude y'all for watching, and encourage you to please rate, comment, and subscribe.